Jam to production.
Jam to production.
Hello everyone. Today on Jam 2 Productions, I have a story for you from a lady, and it is a heartwarming story. I believe inspirational story. Please give a listen and respect her condition, where she speaks, and her story. Comment down below and share this video. It is a wonderful story, very emotional. Thank you very much, and thank you for watching.
Hi, my name is Marnita Dennis. Most of you know me as Marnita Dennis. I was born in DeQueen, Arkansas. Yes, I'm not from Texas. I was brought to Texas from my husband, which I married him at 13 years old. And at 15 years old, I had my first child, Lisa Haggerton, which is now the owner of Dennis Drilling, and her husband, George Haggerton. My youngest child, Michael Dennis, I don't remember the name of where he works, but he's a hard worker too. And I have 3 grandchildren, 16, 15, and 12, or 11, not quite sure. And I have a story I want to tell you. It's about an accident that I had back in 2009. I really should have known that things wasn't right. I really should have known that day not to take this trip. It started out, by the way, my husband and I had divorced. After 23 years, we got a divorce. Long story, not going to go there. I was living with another man. Things wasn't working out. My husband said, "Come home." And I did. I decided to come home. Well, I had a toothache that day, a very bad toothache. And I took some pretty strong pain medication, quite a bit of it. And after I had thrown pretty much everything that I owned into some boxes, that anything that would fit in my little car, which I believe it was a Granada. So I threw them in boxes and put them in my car and decided I'm going to leave. Yeah, well, I took off and I got lost, pulling out of my own driveway, out of my own apartment complex, which that was a sign, right? And well, I got on the phone to my husband. I'm like, I don't know where I am. This was before GPS. And he got me on the right track. So I'm going along all right. And then I get pulled over. I'm like, I'm not speeding. What? The officer pulls me over and says, "Ma'am, you're going the wrong way on a one-way street." I'm like, what? Okay. And I figure, okay, I'm going to jail. And he just tells me, you need to turn around. So I do. I get straight. No, I don't go to jail. Don't get ticketed. Nothing happens. And I turn myself around and I go. Well, I noticed that I'm starting to get really, really, really sleepy at this point. So I stop in this little town along the way, and I get me a huge Monster, one of the biggest. And I drink it, and I drink it really fast. It helped for a little bit, but then I noticed that my eyes just kept closing. And by the time I reached between La Pryor and Crystal City, I dozed off. And the next thing I know is a loud boom in the front of my car. I remember the motor coming in and crushing my leg. I remember feeling that. And then I remember feeling everything, the whole car coming in and crushing me on my left side. And then I remember just kind of sliding and going under this bridge or culvert. It wasn't actually a bridge, it was a culvert. And feeling the water coming in. And it was coming in so fast. And all I remember at that point, I think I passed out for a couple of minutes. I can't remember if I hit my head or not, but I remember I went unconscious for a little bit. And then when I come to, the motor was cut into my leg, and there was steam coming out of the car, and the motor was still running, and the horn was honking, and just all hell had broke loose. So I knew I had to stop all of this from happening. So I started hitting things to make things stop. And when I got all the steam and everything from blowing, I realized that I had to get the motor out of my leg, which I knew it was cut to the bone because I could feel it. So the only way I could get the motor out of my leg is to finish cutting it out. So I had to cut my leg the rest of the way to get it free from the motor. So I did. I finished cutting my leg, and it finally came loose. And how it didn't bleed too much, I don't know, but it didn't, thank God. And I kind of looked around to see what I could do, what if I could get out of a window or something, and no. There was no windows that would open. There was no doors. Both sides of my car was jammed into this culvert, but not a single window would break or open. So I tried to find something that would break it, and there was nothing. There was absolutely nothing. And at this time, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. So I'm thinking, what the hell? Go to sleep. So I did, and I kept hearing these cars go by, and I'm thinking, well, somebody's going to see me eventually. And this whole time, I knew my husband was going to find me. But come the next morning, I'm not feeling too good, but I'm okay. I'm strong. A little sick to my stomach, having a headache, but not feeling too good, but I'm okay. No water, no nothing. And I start throwing clothes on top of the car so they would dry, as stupid as this sounds, so they would dry so I could have kind of some warmth to put over my body when I got cold, because I couldn't get out of the water. And then I realized that not only was my leg cut, my knee was about 5 times its size. And to move, the pain is undescribable. Pardon me. So when I would go to move, the pain was at the verge of almost passing out. But I didn't, and I would kind of go to the back seat of the car, and there was this laundry basket that happened to get lodged there. And I could prop my head on this laundry basket and rest. So I would rest there, and I would look around the car, and on the passenger side in the front, the window was down about, I don't know, about 8 inches, I would say, maybe, or not quite that. But I kept thinking, I can get through there. No, I couldn't get through there. I couldn't find anything to break it. So I'd get tired real quick, real fast, and I'd go back to laying down. Well, one day, or about the second day, I was sitting there. I was asleep, and I felt the water kind of ruffle. And I opened my eyes, and as the water was making these waves, through that window, I saw the snake coming through. And I'm thinking, oh God, please. Well, the snake came. The water level was just about necklace high. And the snake came within, I'd say, 6 inches of my chest, my face. And it looked at me. It just sat there and looked at me. I would say for a good 30 seconds. And then it just left. And I'm like, then I started breathing again. And I remember feeling so cold after that. I mean, I was just so cold. To the point that when I woke up from like this little nap, I could look across, and all of a sudden I seen this Indian camp. I'm talking Native American camp. And I could tell they were there for me. And it's like every time I wanted to give up, because I don't know if I had lost, well, I know I had lost a lot of blood. And it's like 2 of them. One was an older male and one was a younger male. And it's like they would come to the car, but they wouldn't come close enough that I could see them. I mean, I could see them, but they wouldn't come close enough. I don't know how to explain it. They wouldn't come close enough that I could touch them. And at one point, I'm like, I'm tired. I just want to go to sleep. I want to quit. And this older male standing at the window on the passenger side said, no, you can't quit. You have to go on. And I'm like, but I'm too tired. This is the second night that I've gone through this. I'm cold and I'm tired. He says, but you're strong. You can do this. And I'm like, well, I see you tomorrow. He says, I won't leave you. I'm going to be here for you. I said, okay. So I went to sleep for that night. The next morning I got up. I could feel the warmth of the sun. And I did whatever I could to be warm. I moved around as much as I could. I got up into the front seat where the sunshine was, and I was sitting there, and I felt this pinch on my foot that was bad, but not that bad. And I have freaking crawdads biting on my feet. And I lifted my foot, and I had to get them off. So I'm sitting there, and then I look beside me, and there's these eyes just looking up at me. And it was fish just looking at me. So I kind of thump, and they'd go back down, and then they'd come back up, and then thump, and here they come again. And finally, they just went down, and I had this tore skin from my ankle and from my leg that they was just eating on and eating on. And I got to the point where I didn't even shoo them off anymore, thinking maybe it's a good thing. And I remember laying down, this is the third night, and just going to sleep thinking, this is probably it. When I woke up the next morning, which is the fourth day, I'm thinking, I'm too tired. I can't do this. And the Indian man told me, today's the last day. They're coming. And I'm like, nobody's gonna find me. And he says, they're coming today. I'm like, okay, they're coming today. And I remember it was about 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and I'm screaming. For the first time, I'm screaming, help, help. And I turn and I look, and there's a man, a real man, standing on my hood. And I'm like, I look at him like, no, he's not real. And I ask him, are you real? And he says, yes, honey, I'm real. I'm real. He says, what do you want me to do? And I give him phone numbers to call. Pardon me. And he calls. And my family is like, they are like in tears because they had been hunting for me all this time, putting missing person reports and running up and down the roads themselves. And I mean, they were distraught. And, you know, they wasn't sure if they were going to find me dead or alive. And I remember when the police department, the EMS and everybody shows up, I tell them, watch out for snakes. I said, there's snakes in here. And I remember it took 3 jaws of life to get me out. But I remember when I finally got out on that gurney, and even though I literally had so much mud and straw and grass all over me, but when I got out of that water and I was still wet, but I could feel the sunshine all over my body. I think it was almost too much for me to handle at that point. And I just broke. And they put me in the helicopter and they says, "Are you okay?" And I remember looking down as the helicopter was going up and thinking, he was right. I am okay. And then I went to sleep. And then I was in the hospital for quite a long time, physical therapy. But I did it. And if I can do it, you can do it. Remember that. You can do it. So thank you. And I love you all. Thank you and goodbye.